Wanted to start this video today by letting you know about a free opportunity to learn more about neuroscience. Everyone I've talked to says that we need to know more about how the brain works. Obviously, we all have functioning brains. This is an opportunity. It's only 2 half-hour classes. It's free to enroll. It does start today, May 14th, Thursday, May 14th. I don't know if they would have a rebroadcast, but it is something that I thought might be an interesting opportunity for certain people. If you're looking for some sort of a job prospect in the future, neuroscience is definitely something to study. So is computer programming. So we'll go back to where we were on Tuesday. And I did want to say I'm very impressed with the students who stuck with it and persisted, got a little creative with their programming. Excellent job. I really think that some people are doing very well, and as I have said, this is a career if you know how to program things, how to set things up correctly. Now, one thing I've still been struggling with, if you remember our codes, this is stuff we set up last time. I'm going to add a little bit to it today. This is my ant code, where the ant is going to sting the Bagheera spider, the Bagheera Kiplingi spider, whenever it happens to find when it comes in contact with the spider, and the spider flips over. Now, the one thing I have not yet been able to figure out is why does the spider keep moving even after I flip it over? I've tried and tried. It's something in Scratch is a little bit different now. I'm not exactly sure what the issue might be. But today we're going to add the food. Now, these are called Beltian bodies. I think I mentioned it. It was in the videos. These are those sort of seed pods that, not seed pods, they're leaf pods, tips of the leaves that the ants eat. And it provides a lot of nutrition for the ants. Pretty much provides all of the nutrition for the ant larvae. So we'll make our Beltian body nice and small, something that the ant or the spider might be able to eat. Because what the spider does is it steals, the spider steals these Beltian bodies that are intended from the ants. It steals that food, and then it eats those Beltian bodies that are intended for the ants to give to their larvae. The spider steals that and eats those instead of eating insects. Now, just to get some colors, we're going to make a background here with our plant, just to look at some colors of the thorns, and they can be reddish, they can be brownish. It's actually a pretty nice picture. That's kind of what I saw. The younger trees especially have that reddish tinge. The older ones have a brownish tinge. So we'll make brown. I'll speed this up so that you don't have to go through everything. Now, one thing I'm finding out is the paint bucket, which used to just spill down and fill something in, isn't working the way I remember it. And I've been struggling with how to get that to work. As of now, I'm just using a thicker paintbrush to fill everything in. And again, this does not have to be a perfect job. It's just a little bit of an opportunity to learn some new skills that are very valuable, very much in demand. If you can become a computer programmer, you're going to set yourself up with a job, very, very well-paying job right out of college. I think that computer science majors are the highest paid college graduates right now, and they make over $100,000 a year with a bachelor's degree, which again, if you're looking for a high-paying job right out of college, that might be the way to go. Now again, I'm going to speed this up. The color is going to be important. Now, I'm doing this as individual leaves. You don't have to. You could just kind of fill this in on your own, because this could take some time. But I am getting the color down. That for me looks fairly authentic. That looks kind of like what the leaves look like. And I have my Beltian body. Now, I only want my Beltian body to be showing up on the leaves. So I'll get my code set up. And again, I will share this with you. You do not need to do it exactly the way I do it. I'm just showing you something that will work. But as I've said before, computer languages are the same as any other language. You can say something a whole bunch of different ways as long as it makes sense, and in this case, as long as the computer can process what you're trying to do, then you've got the right code. Even though it's very much, people think that computer science and math go hand in hand, and yes, there is mathematical processes, but at the same time, it is a language. Now, I'm going to get this set up so that the Beltian body will move randomly, but I only want to see it when it's on the leaf. So let me get the right color for the leaf. That way my Beltian body, if you can see up under the green flag, it says hide. So you will not see the Beltian body, that yellow Beltian body, when I first start my game. The Beltian body is going to randomly move around the screen. Invisible, I won't be able to see it until it touches that green. When it touches that green, now I have that it will show itself for 4 seconds, and that will give either the spider or the ant the opportunity to go and grab it. Now, I do want it to actually start gliding. In either case, if it's not touching green, we won't see it because the green flag says hide. And then when it moves to a place where there is green, it will show itself for 4 seconds. It'll stay there. Whoops, I can see my spider still moving around dead. But the Beltian body will move around and go to those locations where it's visible in green. It will be visible, and that's where either the spider or the ant will try to go get it. Now, I will have to play around with my ant code a little bit, so maybe I want my ant to try to get to the Beltian body. Right now my ant's just moving randomly with no notice of the Beltian body. And I actually would want to maybe set up some sort of a point system, but let's see where we can go with this. All right, yeah, I will have to put this, well, I already have this in a forever loop. I just want to make sure I have everything. Now, I'm still trying to find a way of getting this to stop the spider from moving. But right now, what I want to send here Okay, so what I want to do here is I want the ant, if you saw I had the ant, I made a new message. I want the ant to go and try to get that Beltian body. So that's what I'm trying to get working here. So that anytime that the Beltian body appears, the ant will go towards that Beltian body. And it's a race. This is a competition. The spider and the ant are both competing for the same resource here. The ant and the plant evolved to help each other, and the spider is what we call a parasite. It eats off of the plant, but it doesn't really give any benefit to the plant. The ant protects the plant. The spider does not protect the plant. The spider just grabs its food. It's a parasite on this mutualism, this relationship between the ant and the plant. Now let's see if this ant is now moving randomly. And I will want it to go towards the Beltian body. Right now it's still moving randomly. Let me fix that. Beltian body. And now it should, every time the Beltian body appears, the ant should go for it. And there it is. It's going right for it. And there it is. It's going for it. Now, I'm not sure why the ant moved, but there the ant is trying to get there. I have it as random because sometimes the ant will move quickly, sometimes the ant will move slowly. Adds a little variety, makes the game, if we're calling this a game, makes the simulation a little more fun. Now, what I think to make this look a little more authentic, I will add in some extra branches and add in some extra leaves just to make it a nice thick foliage that's behind as a background. And again, you don't have to do every single last individual leaf like I'm doing. You could just do a thick paintbrush and, cover everything in green. Just get something that looks something like this, and then set up the codes so that the Beltian bodies, these leaf tips, appear on the leaves, and the ant will try to get it. And your job is to have the spider try and get it as well. Now, there were a couple of things I was playing with around here that I don't think are working, so I'll just get rid of them. We do want the spider to still die when it gets stung, which doesn't happen very often. The spiders are very quick and they're able to escape from the ants in most cases. We're putting our spider at a little bit of a disadvantage because even though it can run and it can jump from one leaf to another, the ant, we're allowing kind of that opportunity too. Now, there are ways of making this game much better, much sharper. I don't want to get into all of the details right now. I'm trying to keep it more of a simple program. If you can figure out ways of doing this, if this is appealing to you, this is something that's a career building skill. If you can figure out how to do this, just like students doing first year computer programming at Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, in California, you're putting yourself in very good shape. Now, I did want to try to start setting up a point system here. So when my spider touches the Beltian body, I'm going to want to broadcast a message. And this way, now when the spider touches the Beltian body, it'll get points. It'll score points. Just to keep track, make it a little more interesting. I can do it that way. Now, what I would want to do, every time it touches a Beltian body, it's going to score a point. It's going to wait a second because otherwise my score, the point system that I've set up, is going to go up ridiculously fast. Let me see if I can actually just do this as an if-then statement. I don't necessarily have to do it as an if-then else, but it will be a forever loop because I want this constantly happening. It's not only when the green flag is pressed and the spiders happen to be touching the Beltian body. It's when the green flag is, anytime that the spider is touching the Beltian body, I want it to register as a point. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to have a variable. I'll call this variable points. And now, if you did notice, when the spider touches the Beltian body, it sends a message. When it sends that message, it's going to send it to the Beltian body, the leaf tip, and that Beltian body is going to then increase this variable, which is something that can have many different values. It's going to increase this variable that we called points by 1. Now, the computer doesn't necessarily understand what points are. I could call that thing anything, but let's just test this out. So when my spider touches a Beltian body, and I have to get to one. There we go. Let me see if I can get this one. Now it should go up a point, and it did. I put that safety in there that the message gets sent to the Beltian body. I put a 1 second delay so that it's not like for a really long time the spider's racking up a whole lot of points. I also want the Beltian body to hide because my spider is now eating it. So I want the Beltian body to disappear. So that's a basic way of getting this started. Maybe I want the spider to say something like yum. Wouldn't make any sense for it to say hello, but maybe it can say something like yum for 2 seconds once it eats that Beltian body. And these spiders, about 90% of their diet are these Beltian bodies. Now, if I want to make this, there we go, even more complicated, because if you remember, the spider and the ant are in competition for the food. So I will actually continue to set this up. If you get to this point and you're happy, you get a point every time you eat a Beltian body and the spider dies and you have the Beltian body showing up. I'm happy if you just get to this point. I'm going to go further than this, but if you're comfortable at this point, I think we can call that at least a start on a project. When we get to the end of the year, we are getting to the end of the year, we're not going to have a final exam, but we will have a final project. One of your options for a final project could be some sort of a computer programming type activity like we have here. Now, what I'm doing is I'm going to make this more interesting by including an ant's ability to score. So I'll call that ant score. The ant will also be able to get these Beltian bodies because this is a competition. This is a competition between the ants and the spiders. If the spiders eat all of the Beltian bodies, the ants are going to die. If the ants eat all of the Beltian bodies, then the spiders are going to die. So here's the ant score, just to keep track. Actually, I might want to make that a more clear. ANTSCORE, like a space, so you can actually read it. Yeah, that looks better. And now I want to have spider score as well. And we'll see who the winner is. Whoever gets to a certain number first will be the one who wins in this competition. So now I have to set it up a little bit differently that both the ant and the plant can score. So I'll set this up to be we'll call this spider score. I can just keep my wording consistent. The computer doesn't care what I name any of this. What I name it is more for the user who's looking over my program and is able to understand what I'm trying to say. So now I went back to the spider. When the spider touches the Beltian body, it's going to broadcast the message spider score. Spider score is then going to send a message to the Beltian body, which tells the Beltian body to raise spider score by 1. And it will do the same thing with what we call ant score. The Beltian body is where I have these variables which can have different values, and it will either, depending on the message that it receives, it will either go move the ant score up by 1 or the spider score up by 1. You could make this a lot more complicated. You could put more ants on there. I could show you how to do that, but I think I'm just trying to get people some experience with this. If you could have multiple ants on this, make it a lot more challenging. You could have ants coming on, making clones of each other, or you could have other ants coming online. Now, to start my game, I want to set the ant score and the spider score to 0. And now I think I should have it set up so that when the ant gets it first, it gets a point. When the spider gets it first, it gets a point. Now, where would I want to go from here? Maybe I want to set a threshold. Maybe I want to set an upper limit where I decide that either the spider or the ant has won. Okay, so like I said, this is where I would want to set at a certain threshold, I might want to decide that either the ant or the spider wins. So I could send a message that would stop the game, and let's make it an easy to see color. Make it black, and I could say that this is, with the text button, I can write ant wins. And of course that's very small. I'm going to make that bigger. If I click off of it on the screen, there we go. Okay. So now I can make that bigger. I might want to put it in an actual location. This is kind of the default place where the words will show up. If I really wanted to, set a specific position for each of these, I could. But let's have ant wins or spider wins. I do want to make sure I can see it on the screen. Let's see if that would be a good position. Might have to move it over a little bit. Okay. Looks good. So either ant or wins or spider wins. I can do this with the same exact sprite if you're seeing here. And then let's say we set a threshold. And we'll have it hidden at first so you don't see this. And then if we get to a certain number, it'll either say ant wins or spider wins. So let's say we wanted our score to be 10. I think it's probably best to do an if then else statement. And then we'll want to do my number, my variable. Let's say it's 9. So greater than 9. So it means if we get to 10, then the ant wins. Or if we get to 10, the spider wins. So spider score gets greater than 9, which would mean that at 10, it's going to show costume 2, which is the one that says spider wins. I want to make sure I show it so you can see it, because it will switch to the costume even if you can't see it. And then else, and I want to stop everything too. And then otherwise, if, and again, a lot of computer programming is if then else. A lot of computer programming is that. If you learn how to start navigating things like this, you're putting yourself in a very good position. So now if I have the ant score as I go above 9, then it will broadcast the other, or show the other costume where it says ant wins. And I think we should have that. Now, I actually don't want to play up to 10 right now. Let me see about making my numbers a little bit smaller, because I just want to test this at first. I can play up to 10, but that's going to make my life a lot harder. So let me make this number a little bit smaller. Let's see here. I can go to I don't want to go that high, so where am I seeing? Am I seeing a 2 there? So if I go down to 2, now I can pretty much test it pretty quickly. Whoever gets the number first, if I put it down from 9 down to 2, let me just change those numbers really quickly. Now if I do it at 2, it's pretty quick that I can see that, just to make sure it works, that ant wins or spider wins. And then from there I can go back up to 9 or 10 whatever I want my high score to be. But as long as this is just testing out that it works, now I can go back and have the final answer, or I'm sorry, the final score be greater than 9 or greater than 100 or something like that. There are other variables you might play around with as well. The spider, if you remember, the spider goes 10 steps every time you hit a button. It'll move faster if you put it to 20 steps. If you'll move slower if you move it down to 5 steps. Same with the ant. You can adjust the gliding speeds. But I think if we can get to this point, put that in a forever loop just to make sure that it all works. And then once we get to this point, set your high score, whatever you want it to be. 10's a good number for it either to decide that ant wins or spider wins. Get to that point and you've gone above and beyond, and you've done a great job with this. Next week we'll have a slightly different. We'll look a little bit more about animals again, especially in New Jersey. We already had a good look at plants, so we'll look at some animals. But keep this in mind if you want to do a final project that is in some way related to programming, because I will be very encouraging of students who want to pursue this kind of a simulation. We might do one more Scratch project like this, but I did just want to give you this experience, and from here I will sign off. Have a good day.